It's a JJ special, a day later than normal. Josh Neighbors, Jack Allen here on the College Countdown here on 365 Sports plus Rogue Media Networks. Jack and I pushed it back a day because this is our busy season. The real secret about college media, college sports coverage, especially college football coverage, is that the real busy time is not when the season begins. It's right before this season begins. Our schedule is a bit more hectic. It's a bit more busy right before the actual football starts. So, Jack, first question. Are you alive? Are you surviving? You appear to be breathing unless somebody else is propping you up and pulling the strings behind you.
Yeah, we actually have a weekend at Bernie's situation going on right here. No, we had our Razorback preview special last night, an hour-long show. If you want to learn about the Razorbacks, KTV.com is your place to go. But we've been locked into that, getting that ready, getting high school football coverage ready. Wow. And so, all of that goes, it takes more to get ready for things than it does to actually do the things. And so I'm ready for this first full weekend of the college football season to finally be here and honestly to kind of finally be over.
Yeah, no, because I'll tell you what about this weekend is that it's a 5-day weekend. And we waited all off season, so tonight we can watch check schedule 4:30 USF versus Boise State on ESPN, followed by check schedule again Cincinnati and Nebraska at 8 o'clock on ESPN from GEHA Field in Kansas City, so we can watch Dylan Raiola do a Patrick Mahomes impression.
And don't forget, I don't know, we may have 10 quarterbacks play in Missouri, Central Arkansas tonight.
Right.
So
that is right. Yes,
we're here.
Yeah, we are here.
College football is here.
Yeah, well, we've got so obviously we've got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So 5 days of college football. Luckily, the college football slate is bountiful enough to cover that entire span. So here's what I'm going to pitch to you first, Jack, is that out of the non-Saturday games, and we covered Baylor and Auburn last week, so I guess we won't really touch that one. So let's put that one to the side. So between tonight, which we've got USF and BYU is a big one. We've got, as I mentioned, Nebraska and Cincinnati. Tomorrow we've got some other scattered stuff. Sunday we've got Virginia Tech and South Carolina. And also we've got Miami and Notre Dame. And then Monday night we have got TCU and North Carolina. So out of all of that, what interests you the most? I feel like the answer might be a pretty obvious one, but depending on who you are, and we are college football psychos, the answer might not be pretty standard.
Well, for me, I get Notre Dame, Miami sounds like a lot of fun, and that's going to be a great game, and there's a lot that we can learn. And as someone who covers Arkansas, and Arkansas is playing Notre Dame later this year, obviously there's a lot of draw there. I'm really interested in Virginia Tech, South Carolina. I think, we've heard so much about LaNorris Sellers over the last, few months, especially with that SEC documentary coming out. It's time to see whether or not that's going to translate to a new year or whether we're going to have almost like a second-year slump with him.
Right.
And I think that it's going to be fun to see Beamer against Virginia Tech. There's so much riveting storylines going into that game that have me so excited just to see, okay, is South Carolina for real? Can Virginia Tech turn a corner?
Yeah.
That one's got me. I'm buzzing. I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm pumped too. As somebody who grew up a Hokie, my grandparents were season ticket holders for 43 years. My dad grew up around there. Now my dad's a Wake Forest guy. Best friend growing up though, Virginia Tech fan for me. So I'm used to going to the games. And I'll tell you what, Tech has always hung their hat on this, and this is a Beamer quality, and this is transferred to Justin Fuente. It's transferred to Brent Pry. That they will schedule difficult non-conference games, and they'll usually do more than one, typically. This is a program that's always hung their hat on seeing how good they are early as possible. Now, it typically has not worked out very well. They've lost a ton of these games.
Well, and Josh, they're so good at it that they knew Vanderbilt was going to be good before anybody else did and scheduled them and lost to them last year. So
that's right. And this is, it's funny, Jack, you mentioned that because this is a school that Virginia Tech that has scheduled South Carolina and Vanderbilt, as well as Old Dominion, which they've lost to multiple times, and then Wofford. So this is a non-conference slate that is shaping up to be really difficult. Now, it's the good news for them is that they actually have scheduled this because the rest of their schedule does not look too difficult. They've got road trips to NC State, Georgia Tech, Florida State, Virginia. They also have Miami at home, but it's kind of a good thing they have. They've done this. And so, look, you mentioned that Brent Pry wanted to turn a corner, but I think all eyes here are on LaNorris Sellers. All eyes here are also on South Carolina because the interesting thing about schools like South Carolina, and this is true for places like Tennessee, South Carolina, Arkansas, Missouri, is that there is this idea that these programs can build. And my question is always, what are they building towards? Right? Because these schools, these jobs as coaches are like the hired to get fired jobs, right? Because if you win 7-8 games, it's really hard to repeat and do that. Now, Josh Heupel, I think, is really hitting his stride at Tennessee. What that means, I don't know if they win a championship with Josh Heupel, but they're consistently winning games, which is all you can ask for. South Carolina is starting to reach that point under Shane Beamer, and now they got a quarterback, LaNorris Sellers, who looks like I think is going to be the genuine article. I don't know if that means this year, though, because he's just a sophomore, right? And Shane Beamer went 7-6, 8-5, 5-7, 9-4. So, like, how do you follow up a 9-4 in the SEC where they were on the borderline of being a potential college football playoff team? They were not quite there, but they were knocking on the door. They were 8-3 heading to the last week of the season. But, a result or two changes throughout the year, and they might be in the dance.
Well, and you look back to our conversation about Auburn, and it's almost like you feel like this is almost what you build toward. If you're South Carolina, we talk about trying to capture your moments. Like, this is the moment for South Carolina and what they can kind of build towards them. You try to seize the opportunities when they're rare and come up. And when you have a guy like LaNorris Sellers, who was so phenomenal a season ago, like, there's a lot of pressure on that team to capitalize on the moment, to capitalize on having a player like that. And so if you go out week one and don't perform, if you go out week one and drop an egg, like, suddenly it's not just like, oh, this is a season loss. It's like, oh, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity kind of lost.
And also their schedule is tough. I mean, they have got a stretch where they're at LSU, they've got Oklahoma, Alabama, at Ole Miss, at A&M, Coastal. They've got Coastal the penultimate week, and they play Clemson. So the scheduling there, I mean, this is a must-win game for them, obviously, just in like for how their season's going to go generally. So I find that interesting. Let's jump to Monday night in a game that I don't really know. Like, I mean, TCU, and you and I are partial to the Big 12. It's a place where we spent time. It's a place where we spent blood, sweat, tears, energy covering the Big 12 conference. Man, there's a lot on the line for Sonny Dykes, in addition to there being a lot on the line for Bill Belichick. I mean, Bill Belichick, it's his first game, whatever. But TCU, to me, is a huge story because this is a program that went to a national championship game. Not only did they do that, they did that in a Big 12 conference that featured Oklahoma, that featured also Texas. They beat the brakes off OU that year. There was a 17-7 the final score that year. They beat Texas, and they really, I mean, kind of physically stuck it to them a little bit in a pretty significant way. And things have obviously flipped, but after those two teams left the conference, we have not seen Sonny Dykes reload the cupboard the way that we thought he might do so. And I think it's interesting to juxtapose a coach that has been given everything in Sonny Dykes to a coach in Bill Belichick, who we know his girlfriend just trying to trademark the term gold digger right now. So it's kind of this weird. It's a weird collision course between these two programs.
Well, and it's weird because you almost feel like they're on opposite sides of the spectrum in terms of buzz. Like, North Carolina has more buzz than they've had in forever, whereas on the flip side, you have Sonny Dykes coming in, and all the buzz has almost gone away. And so I'm very interested. The one thing I will say is, when you look at Bill Belichick, and maybe you've got a different vibes meter than I do, it doesn't feel like, I say that there's more buzz in North Carolina in a long time. All of it is focused on the coach. Right. I have not heard anybody talking about, here's why this team is going to be really good, or here's why we're excited about North Carolina, outside of we just want to see what this experiment looks like.
Right. I'm with you, because also, like, I think you and I might have talked about this last week, but I remember the question being asked, okay, if they're going to bring in a roster similar to what Mac Brown had, is there something schematically different that Bill Belichick's going to do that changes the calculus there? And like, there's this, can you run it like an NFL team thing that, like, I don't really know how much that matters. Like, I think it works in some settings. I think it doesn't work in some settings. I don't know if the modern college athlete being a bit more treated a bit more like an NFL player has anything to do with what we're going to see at all. And we'll factor into what it looks like with the NFL occasion. But like, is there anything schematically different from what we're going to see? And also, defense guy, like, but are they prepared for what's going to be a passing attack in TCU? They're going to try to spread the ball out, man. That is, we got to go look at Kendall Briles multiple times. Like, you kind of know what the Kendall Briles offense wants to do. And so, I think we know what the offense wants to do. I think we kind of understand like what this attack is supposed to look like. And are they ready for it? Because I know Josh Hoover, I think, is the odds-on favorite to lead the Big 12 in passing this year.
Well, and it's almost one of those things where, yes, Bill Belichick is a great defensive coach. Yes, he knows the ins and outs of X's and O's. But the question is, like, he hasn't coached college football, and college schematically is so much different. And what you're able to ask players to do is so much different, just from a football experience, football talent level. You can't ask guys to do the same thing at the college level that you can at the pro. And this is not even talking about like how we manage them. You have to coddle these kids. I just mean, like, from a physical standpoint, they don't necessarily know how to read an offense at the level that a pro can do it. Right. And so the question is, does what you do at the NFL level translate to college? Because we've seen plenty of times where that hasn't worked out. In the same way, college doesn't necessarily schematically translate to the pros just because of physical ability. And so this is almost like the perfect first test, where you have the ultimate college coordinator in Kendall Briles going against an ultimate NFL defensive mind in Bill Belichick, and seeing, okay, does this translate between levels?
Yeah, I'm excited to see if it does. Like, I don't know how much appetite I have to watch Bill Belichick. I think as a storyline, it's exciting, but like he does not do a whole lot for me. I mean, I think the most interesting story in the ACC is a twofold deal with Clemson and with Florida State. And I think that's where we want to go next, because in terms of Saturday, these two teams have massive opportunities. In Florida State especially, Castellanos comes in at quarterback. We have their coach giving money back, to the university. Like, it's so funny, Jack, the way to watch these deals work now is either you get an extension, or like you're getting fired, or like you're giving money back that you got in an extension. And it's always like this weird kind of it's like these three true outcomes. You know what I mean? It's almost like baseball now. It's like home run, strikeout, or walk. You know what I mean? We're not trying to hit doubles. We're watching Kyle Schwarber every single time up at the dish. That's kind of what we're watching. Right, exactly. Like that's what we're watching at this point in time. And I think Florida State, I think it's 13.5 is the number at this point in time. And we'll tell you these numbers thanks to our friends at DraftKings, which we'll have more about that coming up next week. Some exciting stuff about. We'll get more of that next week. But that's an interesting number. And to me, I expect a great environment, and I expect Florida State to really give Alabama a run. Like, Ty Simpson's first game as starter is going to be at Florida State. As bad as Florida State was last year, I think it's just a tough environment for a young quarterback, a younger quarterback in terms of experience to go into. So I would favor the home team in terms of the number, not saying the win, but obviously coaching staff and players know what's on the line for FSU, and also a whole lot on the line for Caitlin DeBoer in Alabama.
Well, again, we talk about, vibes. College football is so much about vibes. And for both programs, the vibes are not great for different reasons. Florida State comes in after a year where they massively underperformed expectations, not just in-house, but across the country. and it was a bad season on all fronts. And so if you start out looking bad against an Alabama team, like, okay, the vibes shift drastically. Whereas whenever it comes to Alabama, vibes are bad for a different reason, simply because the expectations are so high there. And, in the post Nick Saban shuffle, as we try to figure out what college football looks like without him in charge at Alabama, if you go out and you lose to Florida State off the bat, the vibes shift drastically there as well.
Yeah. And it's funny because you mentioned that, and then you mentioned the Clemson LSU game. Like, the vibes, those two programs are much higher than the results were last year, right? The vibe between those two teams is one of the up arrow, right? This is kind of the year Brian Kelly's been waiting for, with a really good quarterback, and to make sure they can run the ball. Their defense has to be better. And then Clemson, now they've gone to the portal. We're all kind of like, well, this is maybe what we wanted to see for all this long period of time. Can they deliver upon it? So it's funny to see that these two ACC, SEC clashes kind of mirror each other in the unease, but it's funny to see Clemson and LSU as the two that have the better vibes, I would say.
Well, and, a lot of that just comes from starting quarterback play, where you have guys who have been there and done it for those programs, and whereas at Alabama and Florida State, you have unknowns, you have question marks. And that's also why I feel like there's a lot more pressure on the Alabama-Florida State game, and why that's one that I'm almost more intrigued in, because you can see a reality where if things don't go well for LSU or don't go well for Clemson, they still have the rosters and the infrastructure and the quarterbacks to feel comfortable that they can fight their way back from a week one loss. Yeah. Whereas if you're Alabama or Florida State and things don't go well week one, it's panic button right away, because you're like, I didn't know what we had, and now I feel bad about what we have. And so I don't know, like the Clemson LSU one is a lot more of like here are two heavyweight stars battling it out, and whoever loses is still going to be all right. Whereas in Alabama and Florida State, it's like, here's two that are already just fighting to get onto the podium at this point. And if you don't get there, a
little more anxiety, a little more. Well, I think that's because the coaching situation. Like, we know that the two coaches involved in the LSU Clemson game have championship pedigree. And I know Kelly hasn't won one, but like championship pedigree.
A championship game.
Yes. And I look at Kalen DeBoer went recently with Washington, but also that's a different. Like, we know anybody can win a championship in LSU. It's not far fetched. We have not seen somebody accomplish that at Alabama in a long time since, obviously Saban's done it, predating that too. And then also at Florida State, the vibes are a bit more uneven there as well. All right, Jack, quick show today, so get you out of here. Where can the folks find you and all of your work and its variety?
KATV, obviously, if you're in Arkansas, that's where you can tune in and find me and Steve Sullivan. Like I say, if you're interested in the Razorbacks, KATV.com, we have uploaded our full Razorback special, and so you can learn everything about Arkansas. And then on Twitter, Jack Allen TV. We'll try to keep you updated with mainly Arkansas sports, but we dabble.
We'll dabble. Yep. Josh at Josh Neighbors _ on Twitter, at CC Podcast JN as well. Saturday 7 coming up tomorrow, the 7 biggest games of the weekend against the spread with our best picks. I'll get those for Jack as well. And we'll put those up on our Twitter page so you can track our progress as the year goes along. Jack, does that make you nervous?
Every time. I try to make as few picks as possible because I don't like looking down, but
no choice, brother. No choice. You're in it now. All right, Jack. Talk to you next week.